You know, there were stories about the Ford GT40 going down the Mulsanne at night, over 200 miles an hour, it's raining, and the drivers talked about how they were, you know, low slung in the cockpit, and the way the lights danced across houses and such, and they were so locked in this tiny little cockpit. I mean, they had to have just nerves of steel. And this car, it gives me that feeling. It gives me those, you know, hair standing up in the back of your neck feeling of, wow, like this, I'm about to do something very intense driving this car. If you were turning 100 years old, how would you celebrate? Personally, I'd get a cake and 100 candles. I think that'd be kind of fun. But if you're Ford Motor Company, you look back at one of the greatest moments in your company history and then decide, if we took that car and made a modern version of it, what would that be like? Well, it would be this, the Ford GT. When Ford teased this back at the start of the new millennium, people loved it. And they loved it so much, Ford said, all right, well, you know what? We're gonna build it. And then within 3 years, we had this Ford GT, this amazing modern day version of that incredible GT40 race car. This is one of the most powerful supercars I think I've ever driven, with the least amount of computer assistance. And in no way is that a detriment. The inside is minimalist and sparse. It looks exactly like a race car. There's nothing in here that doesn't absolutely have to be in here. And it almost looks cartoonish in some respects because it's so race car-esque, yet just has a little bit more fit and finish that gives you a hint, oh, this is a road car. But it's when you fire the engine and you listen to that supercharged V8 come to life that it even gets more intense. It becomes, ooh, like, oh gosh, it's right behind me. It's whirring in the back of my head. It's so close to my ears that you get even more intimidated. But then you drive it, you pull away, and suddenly it's not that scary. Oh, you get on the brakes, they work really well. It pops into gears so easily. And then the part that got me was accelerating. I just felt like I've been in very few cars this rudimentary that also just seems so well put together, so fast. I mean, I'm doing 100 some odd miles an hour there, just not even a problem.
Knowing that they'd only build a small number of them, Ford obviously put a lot of effort into over-engineering the car. This isn't another Ford Focus. The Ford GT was designed to show off everything the company was capable of.
Although these were overbuilt, there is a couple things to pay attention to when buying them. First and foremost, owners. It's very hard to find a single owner Ford GT because these were flipped so often at the beginning. Also, one of the things to pay attention to is the front grille. In 2005, they had a mesh grille. Then they changed it after that. If you have a 2005 car that doesn't have a mesh grille, you should probably ask the owner why. Could have been crashed. Also, you'll see on this car, there is no racing stripes. The racing stripes were very popular. The non-racing stripe or stripe delete was not very popular. Then, those cars started to become more valuable. Check the build sheet when you're buying one of these to see if it truly is a factory stripe delete car. Everyone knows the 40 in GT40 stands for it being 40 inches tall. This was almost named GT44 because it's 4 inches taller than the original GT40. It is still an incredibly low slung car. I'm 5'9", it's basically at my hip. It's also 18 inches longer than the original car, but it's still incredibly aerodynamic. Remember, the GT40 had a lot of aero issues as they were developing those cars to race at Le Mans. This one, on the other hand, was built really quickly and is almost overbuilt. There's people that have put thousands of horsepower in these and driven well over 200 miles an hour without any aerodynamic updates.
These are dry sump engines, so if you're gonna buy one of these, you should consider replacing the dry sump belt as part of the mandatory basic maintenance.
Although the interior is minimalist, there are a couple gremlins to pay attention to, starting with the tunnel. This is made of magnesium alloy, which can corrode, and then the paint flakes. Now, the real fun issue has to do with the electrical system, where if the battery gets to a low voltage and you try to start the car, it can cause a voltage spike, which can ruin all the gauges or fry the ECU. To fix this, Ford sent all the 2005 owned cars a battery maintainer, and then every car made after that came with a battery maintainer, because you have to keep these cars on a maintainer to keep it healthy.
The Ford GT was in high demand in 2005 and still is today. From 2008 to 2014, cars in number 2 excellent condition hovered around $175,000. As of January 2021, a car in that same condition will cost you nearly $330,000. As always, valuations change over time, so please go to Hagerty.com/valuation tools in order to get the most detailed and up-to-date information.
If you're gonna create something as an ode to a great moment for your 100th birthday, like Ford did with this Ford GT in reference to the Ford GT40, then the only true measure of success is that when people sit in it, when they drive it, when they experience it, they get that same level of nerves and mystique and the feelings and emotions that the original drivers of the GT40 would have had. And this car achieves that. So to me, it's undoubtedly a success